Warriors, rise! I'm about to show you a 9-minute video that was posted on Digital Asset Investors' Twitter account. Man, strap on your seatbelt. We're going for a ride. My name is Coach JB. I am the top health, mindset, and crypto coach in the world. Remember, what you believe in your heart, you think in your mind, will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes your unconscious activity. And the physical reality that you're experiencing right now within this present moment, think about that for just a moment, is what you're thinking about, what you're speaking, your vibrational frequency is what you're attracting. So if you want to change your world, change what you're seeing, change what you're hearing, change what you're ingesting, and know that I truly, truly, truly love you. All right, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and let's get ready to rock and roll. So let's kick right into this. We got a little bit of a longer video here, so bear with me. Let's ride together. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first of all, give a shout out to Digital Asset Investor. He has a great YouTube channel. He is an OG in this space. Want to give him the respect. So we're going to watch this video from his Twitter account. Okay, and now has 97,000 views, man. That went up fast from last night because so many people are watching this. Now, the first thing I want to say is, this is Jim Rickards. So Jim Rickards, we know, is a gold bug, right? I think he's a gold guy, right? He's a gold guy. He talks about DLTs, distributed ledger technology. I think, excuse my lack of knowledge on this, deep knowledge, but I don't think he's a big fan of cryptocurrency. But as we listen to this, it's not about getting scared, warriors. It's about being prepared. This is nothing new under the sun. Think about it. Most currencies' lifespan is 100 years and it collapses. I think America is about at 120 years, so 20 years overdue. So warriors, America's dollar is basically worth nothing. It's only your belief in it since we detached from the gold standard in 1971. Okay, we detached from the gold standard and now we're in 2022. We're in the third economic cycle, which is war, and the narrative is the SWIFT system. And I'm going to break down what's happening. So let me just jump right into this video because it's a longer video. So let's watch this video. Now, the thing that I do want to say about this video, it's really weird. I don't know. It seems like a commercial, the way he's reading a script or something. So I don't know the context of this video or if this is like an infomercial. So I just want to make that very clear. But listen to what he talks about and the connections and the people. And then I will break it down from a factual standpoint so we can make an informed decision. I say, don't trust a word I say. I'm not a financial advisor. Trust the feeling and vibration it creates in your body and act accordingly. Let's watch this together.
I was having dinner with a friend not long ago in New York City. We met at a place called Oriole, which is in Midtown. My dinner companion that night was a senior advisor to BlackRock. As you may know, BlackRock is now the largest asset manager on the planet. It directly manages $5 trillion in assets, and it oversees another $11 trillion through its Aladdin platform. That means one firm controls more money than the GDPs of China, Russia, and Japan combined. Anyway, my dinner companion happens to work directly for BlackRock's CEO. As we nursed our white wine.
Okay, so this is really important. BlackRock, they're into cryptocurrency. Maybe he's not into cryptocurrency, but listen to what he just said about BlackRock. Did you hear what he just said on how powerful they are?
And in the evening wore on, she let something slip. If I remember her words, she said something like, "They want to tell us we can't sell." What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? I placed a few calls, first to my contacts in Washington, then to a few people on Wall Street. Soon I was on a plane for a series of meetings to London, to Geneva, back to New York, then down to South America. As I began connecting the dots, a pattern emerged. It revealed a network of more than 189 individuals positioned inside the world's major financial institutions. Some of them hold senior positions inside the IMF, World Bank, and every central bank in the G20, including our own Federal Reserve. These elites share one vision, and they're about to make it a reality. That vision is one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. They've worked for years behind the scenes preparing to realize that vision. They've literally rigged the laws of international finance. Everything is basically in place right now, and there's essentially no way to stop this from happening. When the crisis hits, they'll flip the switch, freezing the global financial system. That will give them time to reset the world economy according to their vision. As the coming crisis unfolds, President Trump will be powerless to stop it. In fact, trying to stop them would probably weaken the president's power altogether.
That is amazing, Jim, really. So what did these elites want from your contact at BlackRock?
Basically, they want to classify BlackRock as too big to fail. The technical term is Systemically Important Financial Institution, or SIFI. That designation normally applies to banks, such as Bank of America. If your bank gets the SIFI label, it means the government will bail you out first in a crisis. But it also means you must turn over control of your bank until the crisis subsides. In this case, they're trying to reclassify BlackRock, an asset manager, as too big to fail. If they succeed, they'll be able to freeze BlackRock when the crisis hits. BlackRock clients won't be able to sell. They won't be able to buy either. Their accounts will go dark indefinitely, and the elite operatives will take control of BlackRock's assets remotely via the internet. But our research shows that their ICE 9 plan goes much, much deeper than that.
Now, you refer to their plan as ICE 9. You just said that. What does that mean?
It's a reference to the Kurt Vonnegut novel, Cat's Cradle. In the book, a mad scientist creates a new form of water molecule called ICE 9. When it comes in contact with other water molecules, it freezes them at room temperature. One drop of ICE 9 can freeze the whole ocean. And that's what these elite operatives are about to do to the world economy.
Now, can you share with our viewers exactly who these operatives are and what their ultimate goal might be?
Like I said, John, more than 189 elite agents have slowly wormed their way into leadership positions across the board. They now sit at or near the head of the IMF, the World Bank, and even our own Federal Reserve. They also control much of what happens at the central banks of China, Russia, India, Brazil, Canada, and Europe. As you know, these institutions form a kind of global superstructure. It forms a kind of snare net encircling all nations. Their leaders aren't democratically elected. They're not accountable to you and me. They're beyond the reach of government and citizens, and yet they hold the fate of the global financial system in their hands. To get a sense of how they operate, imagine an array of floating spheres. One sphere is labeled IMF. One is labeled Fed. One is labeled Bilderberg. One is labeled Wall Street. One is labeled central banks. One is labeled intelligence agencies. One is labeled media, and so on. The elites inhabit all of these spheres, and together the network forms a kind of 3D Venn diagram. As I see it, regardless of what sphere they inhabit, the elites all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. All of their actions are geared toward moving that agenda forward.
Now, are you able to share the identities of these elites with our viewers?
We've identified more than 189 individuals.
Okay, this is really important to listen to who they identified, and I'm going to break. So then I'm going to show you facts, figures, numbers, logic. Okay, so like I said, it seems like he's reading a script, so I don't know if this is an infomercial. So if anybody has any information on this video, let me know.
Individuals who are in many cases hiding in plain sight. Regardless, they all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. A short list would include Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF; Mark Carney, Governor of the Bank of England; Raghuram G. Rajan, Vice Chairman of the Bank for International Settlements; Haruhiko Kuroda, Governor.
Okay, key, BIS, Bank of International Settlements, right? BIS created the Innovation Hub. Head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, created the BIS, or they created the new Innovation Hub. He joined it in January 2021. And then they're creating the Innovation Hub in New York.
Governor of the Bank of Japan; William C. Dudley, President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York; Agustin Carstens, Governor of the Bank of Mexico; Janet Yellen, Chairman of the Board of the Federal Reserve System; Mario Draghi, President of the European Central Bank; Zhu Min, former Deputy Managing Director of the IMF; Zhou Zhiuquan, Governor of the People's Bank of China; Robert E. Rubin, Chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. This A-list of central bankers and other elites is just the tip of the iceberg. Of course, not one of these elites will tell you outright what's going on, but I've seen and heard enough to connect the dots for myself. Not long ago, for example, I met with one of their senior operatives. He's a leading economist who served as the chairman of the Federal Reserve during the last crisis. He's considered one of the most influential minds in banking today. We met privately during a conclave in Seoul, South Korea. Of course, I'm talking about Ben Bernanke. I came away from my meeting with him stunned and convinced that ICE 9 was real. Not long before that, I set up a one-on-one meeting with another member of the network. His name is Zhu Min, the former deputy governor of China's central bank. Until recently, he served as deputy managing director of the International Monetary Fund. Zhu is a brilliant guy, like Bernanke, and he's pleasant and well-meaning. There's no doubt in my mind that he's also a member of the elite network preparing to impose ICE 9 on millions of Americans. But I wasn't done with my research. I have since met with dozens of senior officials, intelligence analysts, and former Wall Street colleagues. My quest led to a final meeting, a face-to-face summit with the head of Bilderberg. We met at Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, and he was very eager to get my take on the euro as a currency. I was happy to provide it, of course, in exchange for some valuable intelligence. As I say in my new book, he did not have horns. In fact, he gave me a nice gift when we parted ways, a blue Swedish vase. I keep it in my writing studio at my home in Connecticut. But my point is, I came away from all three meetings convinced of one thing. When the next crisis hits, the elites are planning to freeze the financial system, and they'll replace it with a new system, one not based on the US dollar. When that happens, we'll wake up to a very strange and disturbing new reality.
And for our viewers that are watching today, what might their reality look like that morning? How does this manifest?
First, they'll have gone to bed knowing that a massive financial crisis was underway. But when they wake up, they'll find it has worsened and the contagion has spread worldwide. When they go to withdraw money, their ATM will say closed temporarily. When they go to sell stocks, their account will say transaction not available. When they go to their local business, that business will only accept cash if it's open. As citizens realize they're being barred from their money, riots will erupt. It's going to get really bad really quickly.
How would such a freeze actually work? And wouldn't that be highly illegal?
Well,
Okay, so this is the key. How would a freeze actually work? And then I'm going to show you what's actually happening in the reality, which makes this a little alarming. So think about that. This is why Ray Dalio is saying cash is trash. This is not a scare tactic. This is just information for you to make informed decisions.
wouldn't be illegal technically because they've been quietly laying the groundwork for years. They've rigged the financial laws, changed the rules of the game to allow this to happen. The stage is set. They have the levers in place. The lights are positioned. Now someone just needs to flick a switch and they'll impose ICE 9 rapidly. And again, all of this will be legal because they've rigged the system in their favor. Here in the US, for example, Congress pushed through something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. This allows the government to freeze accounts, assets, even whole institutions at will. The only condition is that there's some threat to national security with a foreign connection. Of course, with a global market, every financial crisis has a foreign.
So where are we at right now? Obviously, this is an older video. He's talking about Trump, okay? Foreign connection. Think about this, warriors. What's happening right now? War, Ukraine, Russia, SWIFT system.
Connection. Any systemic crisis fits the bill. And the thing is, when the next crisis hits, it's going to be so bad, President Trump won't have any choice but to go along with the elite's plan.
Wow. That is, you have to admit, that sounds somewhat hard to believe. Now, how could these operatives actually freeze a whole country's financial system?
Well, fortunately, we have some recent real-life examples to study. The elites have been conducting a series of dry runs for years, leading up to ICE 9. Look at Cyprus, for example. A few years ago, the Cypriot economy was in trouble, especially the banks. The IMF stepped in and loaned Cyprus $10 billion, but the loan came with strings. Now pay attention because this is precisely what they're going to do. But imagine it on a global scale. So in exchange for the capital injection, the IMF demanded control over the Cypriot banking system. More specifically, the IMF froze the entire system, literally every bank in the country. And they did that to ensure the IMF's demands were met, including strict capital controls. So how did all of this impact regular citizens? Their local ATMs went dark. Even the bank branch was closed, permanently in some cases. Citizens could not withdraw cash. They couldn't even transfer funds from one account to the other. What came next? Wealth extraction on a grand scale. The IMF basically stole 6 to 10% of all the cash in the Cypriot bank accounts. How did the elites justify this? They called it a levy, the price regular citizens had to pay for their government's missteps. Keep in mind, these asset confiscations were done at the...
Now remember the word levy. Banks operate off maritime law. They don't operate off land law, so they can do completely different things than land law.
Balance sheet level with the institutions themselves. They never had to confiscate individual accounts. They froze every account by controlling a handful of the country's biggest banks. When the next crisis hits, we're going to see this here in the US and around the world. And it'll be a highly coordinated global attack on the entire system simultaneously.
Okay. So you think about that. Oh, did I turn that down? Okay. So let's get me back on the screen here. Okay, let's walk through this. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this down. Okay, so think about what we're going through right now. This is obviously an older video. Okay, it's obviously an older video. And so what's transpired since then? Pandemic. Got everybody to look this way. Locked you down in your homes. Okay, locked you down in your homes. Then after that narrative started to lose steam, and now we have the Russia-Ukraine narrative. And it's all about the SWIFT system. So now we're going to talk about, so now that's an old video, right? Now we're going to watch it actually happening in real time.
The Cabinet invoked the Emergencies Act to restore public order. Information is now being shared by law enforcement with Canada's financial institutions. Financial service providers have already taken action based on that information. The emergency measures we put in place are being used. They are having an impact, and they will have a growing impact in the days to come. Since Monday's announcement, I've spoken directly with the heads of our major banks and with the director of FinTrack. My cabinet colleagues and I are meeting regularly, very regularly, including with the commissioner of the RCMP, to discuss next steps. Our absolute priority is ending these illegal blockades and occupation. It gives me no pleasure to impose any of these measures. In fact, we do so with great sorrow. But do not doubt our determination to act, to defend our democracy, to defend our economy, and to restore peace, order, and good government. So let me repeat what I said on Monday. If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. The consequences are real, and they will bite.
Okay, so there we go. There's factual things happening. Okay. They in Canada, I think it's a parliament, right? So apologize if I get it incorrect, but they basically said that banks now have the right to freeze your accounts without needing to reach out to the government. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened in Cyprus on March 25th, 2013. 10 billion international bailout by European Commission, the ECB, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, was announced. In return, Cyprus agreed to close the country's second largest bank, Cyprus Popular Bank, imposing a one-time bank deposit levy on all uninsured deposits there. And possibly around 48% of the uninsured deposits in the Bank of Cyprus, the island's largest commercial bank, in a minority proposition held by the citizens. So they basically froze their accounts and levied their bank accounts. Okay, now let's dive into this. So this is why I'm really into cryptocurrency. I used to work in banking wars. Banks have too much power. They just do. Okay, so that's why a lot of these big hedge funds, a lot of these big billionaires are moving into digital assets. They're moving into cryptocurrency. They're moving into gold. They're moving into silver. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying land? Why do you think China and Russia has bought a ton of precious metals? And why do you think think about this for a second. Russia. Everybody's going after Russia right now. America's protecting the NATO countries, but America's not stopping buying oil from them. We want to take them off the SWIFT system, but we're still, think about this, Warriors. Russia is crushing it right now financially. Okay. This is Jim Rickards. People are saying, oops, my apologies. That's my manifestation alarm. Okay. What are the steps to 1 million month income? What are the steps to 1 million month income? What are the steps to 1 million month income? Hold it for 17 seconds. I won't hold it for 17 seconds because we're in a video right now, but make sure you do your manifestation consistently. Okay. So people are saying it's not my idea of reliability source that said even the IMF needs the devs, and I'm sure Ripple has some good ones. That doesn't mean XRP will be a reserve asset. More likely, it's an E Sdr. Now, this is Jim Rickards, who hates crypto, in my opinion, from what I understand, right? But he's saying XRP will probably be more like an E Sdr. So what is an E Sdr? So an E Sdr, the white paper examines the opportunities to reduce costs, increase efficiency, mitigate counterparty risk, improve transparency of cross-border payments using the E Sdr solution for financial services providers and central banks. The solution would enable participant financial service providers to issue, transact, and settle in an E Sdr, a global digital composite assets of stable value, which utilizes the IMF special drawing rights, the SDR, as the reference currency basket. The same technology can, of course, be used with other suitable regions regional currency baskets as a reference point. The development of an E Sdr solution has its genesis in a speech by Christine Lagarde. Key person was in there, managing director of the IMF, delivered on September 17th at the Bank of England, which she said the fund will also have to be an open to change to consider a role of a digital version of the SDR. Okay. Now we go right here. Here's Brad Garlinghouse. Look at who he's sitting by. We've seen this video over and over again, and we've seen this picture over and over again. This was by Alex Cobb. This was back in 2019. Thank you for this video. Go subscribe to his channel or check it out. So Brad Garlinghouse at Swiss National Bank Conference, Christine Lagarde. Christine Lagarde's right here. Here's Brad Garlinghouse presenting to them. Here's Jim Rickards saying that XRP would most likely be an ESDR, which right here, I explained to you what an ESDR is. He broke down that these are the key elite people, which key elite people. Here's one of them. One of the 139, I think it is. There's Christine Lagarde sitting across from Brad Garlinghouse. And let's listen to what this first part of the video says.
About the regulation of the private sector. But now we have someone from the private sector, Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of the financial technology company Ripple.
I will start off by also thanking Charles, thanking Thomas, thanking Christine. It's an honor to be included. And as was introduced, I think they saved me for last so that I could talk about the private sector version of this. I also start by kind of explaining the basics of what Ripple is and what Ripple is not. Ripple is a private company. We're based in California, about 300 or 400 employees around the world. And we're trying to solve a problem. We're selling technologies to banks and financial institutions to solve a cross-border payments problem. To be clear, we have not focused on the central bank digital currency issuance. Our view is very much there needs to be interoperability globally. And even in a world of CBDCs, you still need interoperability to solve that problem. Also, before I dive in.
So key, the ESDR.
My comments are more focused on kind of explaining how Ripple's approaching this problem as opposed to just CBDCs. But I thought it worth spending a moment on how we think about blockchain at large and why it is such an interesting technology and I think appropriate for central banks and commercial banks to be looking at.
Okay, so we're going to leave it right there. A lot of you guys have seen that video. He just dives into the XRP technology. And we know, we're all XRP juggernauts here. We know all about that. Okay. So we know Ripple is connected to the World Economic Forum. We know that the IMF, which is Christine Lagarde, basically a bunch of those people he introduced in the 139 people. Whereas all I want to talk to you about is that this is nothing new under the sun. You have to know that this is nothing new under the sun. It's nothing to fear. But one thing you need to know is change is inevitable. And there's a big change coming, Warriors. That is a fact. You can't deny the fact that there's a massive change coming. Now, the question is, what side of the change are you going to be on? So we know that Ray Dalio, one of the top investors in the world, top economist, I'd highly recommend you check out his books. He explains that this is nothing new under the sun. We're in the third cycle, which is war. And after war, there's a massive societal change, Warriors, a massive societal change. So what are the things that I would be doing to protect myself? Is I would educate myself, number one. Number two is I'd surround myself with the proper tribe. Number three is I would educate myself every single day. What I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm ingesting. And also I would find connection to my higher self. And those are the things that I'm doing. Those are the things that I'm doing. No matter if they freeze the bank accounts, they take everything away. I'm already wealthy here. It is a battle of human consciousness. And I'll tell you what, we're about to go through the biggest shift, generational wealth, the biggest shift in our human history. And a lot of people are going to lose their minds. 100%, it's a battle for consciousness. So that's why I created right here the 3T Warrior Academy. Go to 3twarrior.com. It's a community of people rising together in support, in love, in consciousness to help each other be whoever you're meant to be whoever you come as you are. We accept everybody. But Warriors, who you surround yourself with during these times are going to be the most important thing. You could be the one to change your whole family's timeline. You could be the one to shift your generation. That's what I'm going to do, and I would love to hang out with you. My name is Coach JB. I am the top health, mindset, and crypto coach in the world. What you believe in your heart, you think in your mind will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. I know I am.